Hello, welcome to my chronological timeline, my talking stick assignment. My name is Emily, but I go by Ariel. I was born on February 7th, 1992. I was born Emily Ariel Perkins to my mother Dina and my father Dana and my sister Shauna, which I had a lot of feelings about being the only person whose name didn't end with A. I've talked about this with my mother, and I think that's probably why I go by my middle name now, because it starts with A, so I'm kind of like better than all of them. Anyway, so this was me as a child, and this is me now at 33. When I got married, I legally changed the spelling of my first name to Emalee. It was Emily. But I actually go by my middle name now, like I said. My story starts with grief. Grief is like a big theme in my story, which is awesome. I was conceived on May 14th, 1991, the day my mom's dad passed away. He had a heart attack. It was very sudden. Here is my family. We've got my mom and I. This is in Maine, overlooking the ocean. My dad and I, also in Maine, at his house. My sister and I when we were little kids, and us when we were still kids, but teenagers. She was 19 and I was 14, 15. So at around 5 weeks old, when I was 5 weeks old, my mom went back to work full time, leaving me with my paternal grandmother, my Mimi. And she is a huge part of my story. I loved her very, very dearly. We were both Aries moons, and she was my biggest cheerleader. I was the baby of the family, obviously, so I did get spoiled by her a lot. I went to Mount View School, started there in 1997 when I started kindergarten, and then I graduated in 2010. Some fun facts. My father and all of his brothers and sisters also attended the same exact school. My dad and I had the same bus driver for my first few years of life, or school life rather. And some of my high school teachers also taught my dad. Most of them also taught my sister. Mount View is a central hub school that some kids go to the elementary, like myself, and other kids go to elementaries in smaller towns. 12 towns total feed into Mount View. So K through 12 for me was all in one building forever, mostly. In kindergarten, 1997, I met my friend Nikita. This picture is so old and has been like scanned and uploaded and downloaded, and it's grainy, but I promise that's me and Nikita. I'm in the bikini on the left. She is on the right. And here are some grade school memories. I was in Girl Scouts and I loved it. I got all the way to juniors, Daisy Brownie Jr. This is third grade. I am in the back row. You can't really see me. I'm the girl with the blonde hair in the back row. Nikita is front right side in the blue t-shirt. I also played field hockey in grade school from grades 3 through 7, so grade school and junior high. And I did cheerleading, and I absolutely loved both. Mount View didn't have middle school. When I went to school, they had junior high, which was seventh and eighth grade. In middle school, junior high, whatever, I met my two very best friends, my lifelong best friends, still to this day. I love them both dearly, and they hated each other. So I had Holly Joe, and this is us in seventh grade. Seventh grade. That's her and my sister, Shauna. She was basically a part of the family. And then Lizzie, my Puerto Rican queen. One of my favorite memories from junior high, I don't have any pictures of, but I invited 13 girls over, and it was such a mess, and I loved every second. I graduated junior high in 2006, and it was the same year my sister graduated high school, and my life felt good. Like I was having fun. It was being a teenager was sucked. But it was okay. This is me, my freshman year of high school. I really started to like embrace the goth lifestyle in eighth grade and then high school. So this is me trying to be goth. That's sophomore year, still like alternative edgy. Fun fact about me, in junior high, high school, I identified as straight edge. And generally people who are straight edge put like X's on their hands to identify like if you go to a club. I'm like 16 in this picture. If you go to a club that they know that you're not going to drink, you're not there to do drugs, and you don't want casual sex. These are my junior and senior prom dresses, and I just like absolutely love the drama. I shaved the side of my head when I was 18, and Holly dyed stars into it, and I felt so cool. While in high school, I also went to Waldo County Tech Center where I took graphic design 1 and 2, and this is my lovely graphic design work. This is me in the graphic design lab, and these are some graphic design friends. So three different schools, Belfast, Searsmont, and Mount View, all went to the tech center. Another fun fact, my parents actually went to the tech center too, which I think is adorable, small town life. Um, in ninth grade, the summer before ninth grade, Nikita moved to Oklahoma. We had been friends forever, obviously, kindergarten through now, and she moved, and that sucked. But foreshadowing, she moved to Oklahoma. Okay, I went to school in Maine. I am from Maine. Thanksgiving 2007 was the worst day of my life. My grandmother died on Thanksgiving, and my sister and I found her. And then I started therapy with an LCSW named Amy, who was so cool. This was her office, which was just like an old warehouse in Belfast, Maine. And then in August 2008, so that following spring, my parents got divorced. So that was really cool. And there are supposed to be pictures here. I don't know why Sway is acting this way, but I had a picture of the old school and the new school. So the building that I had been in from age 5 till now, 2009, uh, they tore down and built a new school. And so 2010 was the first graduating class of the new school. 2009 was the last graduating class of the old school, where my dad, my sister, my aunts, my uncles all graduated as a whole emotional thing. So junior year, I just did graphic design class. And senior year, I dropped out for just a few months. I went back and I got my diploma. And I actually graduated a few weeks before my graduating class. The kids I had known since I was 5, you know. So fun thing about Amy is she diagnosed me with borderline personality disorder right before I turned 18. Once I turned 18, I started smoking a lot of pot and taking suggestive content because I was an adult now and I was on dating apps, and I met a guy, and we met at Dunkin' Donuts in Waterville, Maine, and he invited me on a walk. And we end up in the woods. He tells me to lay down. It's a long story I don't want to get into. And then 2010 sucked. That was the summer of 2010. That was like June. In late 2010, I met a guy named Jonathan, and eventually later in 2011 moved in with him in this duplex in Ellsworth, Maine, which was gorgeous in its day. I was living with my boyfriend Jonathan, his best friend Orlo, and Orlo's girlfriend Katie. We did not get along. And then I met this guy named Max through Jonathan. They worked together. I almost moved to Houston with Max. My mom was living in Houston for a time, and Jonathan and I broke up. And so I was like, I'll move in with my mom. And Max was going to take me down there. And I'm really glad I did not go to Houston with him. And I haven't talked to him since. So 2011, end of 2011, Jonathan and I break up, and I move in with my dad in backwoods of Maine. And I had a really, really hard time. Everything just kind of came crashing down that I hadn't really been dealing with. enough, I guess. Also, just hormonal, also being 19. So I had a crisis and he handled it really, really well. Um, he took me to the hospital at my request and I began upping my therapy to twice a week. I started working with a case manager. And I start to feel stable, for the first time since like 2006, 2007. And then my dad tells me he's breaking up with his girlfriend and moving back into my Mimi's house, the one that she died in, and that I vowed to never return to. So I had nowhere to go. So here's me living in a motel that the community mental health center I saw Amy through paid for 3 weeks. While living in the hotel, my mom came back from Houston and she was at an incredibly low point and she attempted suicide. The hanged man is here just because it's a little on the nose and also because I was pulling tarot with my cousin and we got that card and then it's a whole thing. Um, so then I only had 3 weeks and I stayed with Holly for 3 or 4 weeks after that. And we um posted on Craigslist. We were so unsafe for 19. It is crazy. Um, Nikita was the only one who offered me a place to stay. So I couldn't go live with my mom because she was in the hospital. I couldn't live with my dad because he was living in my Mimi's house, which I wouldn't go to. And I couldn't live with Holly because she was living in a rent-controlled apartment. And I had to do something. And Nikita, my best friend since I was 5, offered me a place to stay. So my dad bought me a one-way ticket to Tulsa. Here I am on the flight to Tulsa. And here I am reunited with Nikita. Oops. Um, I hadn't seen her since that summer that picture was taken, between ninth grade and 10th grade, or eighth grade and ninth grade. And then I came to Oklahoma wanting to, find myself. I was like, I had started the process with my case manager after I got out of the hospital. And I was like, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to save up my money. I'm going to get my license because I know it's easier in Oklahoma than it was in Maine. And I'm gonna like find myself and I'm gonna be my own person. And then I'm gonna go back to Maine. I'm gonna be like, okay, let's get like started on life now. We've got what we need. And then I met Dylan. And he's absolutely my soulmate. Like we literally are on the same wavelength. Like we'll think the exact like have the exact same thoughts and I don't know, it's just like he's literally like a part of my soul. Like we just share this like really incredible bond. So that was 2012. In 2013, um, was another good year. I adopted my puppy, Belladonna, and I got engaged to Dylan. He actually made our rings, which is so cool. Here's him in the jewelry studio. And I started working at Ulta Beauty, which was my dream. I love makeup, and hair dye a lot. And it was really fun. 2014, I left Ulta Beauty. It wasn't a healthy environment. It was real life Regina George. The handbook literally said you couldn't wear your hair in a ponytail more than once a week. So I left Best Buy, or I left Ulta to go to Best Buy. After my interview, I came home and I was like, Dylan, apply. You need to work here too. Because he had been the manager at Blockbuster Video, but that closed around this time. So he also got hired at Best Buy. We worked great together. He got promoted. I went to Geek Squad and I met some of my very best friends. Madison with the pink hair, and then Tiffany in the blue striped shirt. They are also my soulmates. Like they are my sisters. I love them dearly. And here's Maddie and I at Geek Squad. In 2015, Dylan and I got married on Halloween. And it was amazing. Here are the rings he made us. His is the singular ring, and it's really cool, geometric. It's gotten cooler with age, like as it's like been worn, the ridges have really like are really prominent now. And then my rings are stacked. The opal's cracked because opal is a really soft stone. So It's not as cute. It didn't wear as well as his. 2016, I finally got my driver's license because we bought a house in Inola and we worked in Tulsa at Geek Squad. So I needed my license and I got a car and we adopted a second dog, a baby named Salem. And then in 2017, I started working for Microsoft at the Woodland Hills Mall. And it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. We adopted our third baby, Orion. Here's him as a puppy. We got him at 13 weeks, and then him at like a year or two old. He was fully grown. He's a big ham. At Microsoft, I got promoted to computer tech within a year. I was hired in as sales, part-time sales, and got promoted to full-time computer tech. My mom got remarried to a guy named Philip. I didn't attend the wedding. It was in Maine. And then we adopted our last dog, Pixie. In 2019, I had a leap in DNC and I had this splinter. We can come back to that in a second, but that was in my foot and it was a monumental point in my life. So I had a leap in DNC and I woke up and um I was 18 again and I was in the woods behind Dunkin' Donuts and I was powerless and helpless and it was horrible and I hated it. And it made me start doing EMDR therapy. I was like, I can tell when I'm in a crisis that bad and when I need to like reach out for help. I'm very lucky that I feel comfortable enough to reach out. And so I reached out, I got my Microsoft insurance, got me hooked up with an EMDR therapist, and she was incredible. And she kind of undiagnosed me with borderline personality disorder. She was like, I don't think you ever had that. I think that you were traumatized and you were reacting in a way that made sense to you at the time. And I probably should have put Girl Interrupted on here because that movie played at least 3 times a week, if not really daily, in my life. So, um, my therapist gave me the cover of this manual, because she was doing DBT training to burn in like a ritual to like let go of the diagnosis, and it was beautiful and amazing. And when I was in therapy, this is the safe space that I had mentally. It's in my house. It was in my house. And it was my safe space, and it was where I really got in touch with my spirituality. Here's some like woo-woo magical stuff. And then that brings us to 2020. This is January of 2020 when I had the worst case of bronchitis, big air quotes, ever. And I swear to God, it was actually COVID. And then February 7th, 2020, I bought a new car. Um, I absolutely love the Kia Soul, and I feel like it's made for me. And yeah, it's a good car. Um, I started going to school online at SNHU, studying psychology, and I made the dean's list, which I was so proud of because, like high school dropout, like I don't know if I ever got an A before I went to college on anything. Like I have ADHD, I had accommodations. Obviously, I went to Voc school only, and it was part of my IEP. So I was so proud of that. Like that is a monumental moment in my life. Like that was really validating for me. Haven't gotten that far at NSU, but maybe someday. Um, in 2020, Microsoft decided to close their stores June 26th, which was my third anniversary, my 3-year anniversary with the company. They said the stores are no more. We are moving you to corporate positions, either like, buck up or get out. And so I was like, okay, new adventure, let's go. My dad got married to his girlfriend, Kristen. I didn't attend the wedding because of COVID. I didn't feel comfortable flying, and they totally understood. They got married in like a backyard, but it was supposed to be at like a venue, it is what it is. They're cool. 2021, I got promoted to, well, I got a COVID shot, big deal. Um, I got promoted to this DEI events team. And this is an event that we put on called Man Co or with Man Code with Steve Harvey, and it was interviewing the fathers of some victims of police violence. And Microsoft was amazing about educating us, and we had DEI calls, and we read Just Mercy as a team, and we had book club, and it was amazing. But that team did not uphold those values in the same way. The leader of that team was very ableist, very homophobic, very one track, and that was unfortunate. In the restructuring of Microsoft and closing the stores, they let us relocate because they wanted us working with hubs, and Tulsa wasn't getting a hub. So we were going to pay you $10,000 to relocate, pick where you want to go. And Dylan and I picked Denver. So we packed up the house. This is like symbolic, my Microsoft mug. You know, we packed up the house ready to go, and I felt good. I felt happy. I felt like confident. I don't know if it was like the starting over again or what. But then this team fell apart. I fell apart. I went on an LOA and they basically said don't come back. Um and at that time, just because the universe works out in mysterious ways, Microsoft was saying they're offering severance to people who worked for the stores but don't like the corporate life, like couldn't make the transition like they thought they could. They're like one time offer severance, we'll pay from September to December. You keep your benefits. We just like keep through the end of the year. If we need to call on you, we will, but we're done, you're done. And so I was like, perfect timing. It was so hard. It was so incredibly hard. It was so emotionally incredibly difficult. I asked the Oracle if I should leave Microsoft, is this is the time to leave, and it said yes, and that hurt. But I was like, I know it is. And it absolutely was because I found Creox. I just applied to random jobs on Indeed, like admin assistant jobs. I was applying anywhere I could. I was applying at dispensaries. I was like just trying to find some place because I had income coming in with Microsoft still, but I needed a job, like a career. And ironically, Creox calls, and it is down the road from my house. And I had no idea it existed. And unfortunately, that's kind of our brand. I got hired on as the secretary, and this was my office. I have like Meditation Barbie. Um, and I brought her, and she lived in my office with me. And that was 2021. In 2022, I got promoted, I guess. I got certified as a recovery support specialist, who is somebody who uses their experience in therapy to help others through their therapy journey. I absolutely love being a PRSS. I wanted to be a PRSS only. I was adamant I wasn't going back to school. I dropped out. I forgot to put that on there. I was like, I'm not going to be a therapist. I don't want to be part of the like industry. I don't want to pay into. I don't want to like pay $10,000. Anyway, it's a whole thing. I love being a PRSS. Long story short, I love it. I still am. I will be forever. Probably not, but I love it. I was the IPS employment specialist. That was a lot to say. I was the IPS employment specialist for a few months. I helped people find jobs, keep jobs. That didn't really align with my core values of like anti-capitalism. And then I joined the intake team, and this was my first office as a PRSS. I absolutely loved, you can't tell on my face, but I loved being on the intake team and doing intakes. I felt it was the closest I think I could feel to being a clinician without being a clinician. Um, because I was just doing the like personal screeners like the PCL and the GAD and the what PHQ. Anyway, like just yeah, the anyway, doing intakes. It was great. 2022, 2023. Um, I loved my office. It was my happy space. And I set this up for people. I had fidgets, I had coloring sheets, I have a whole bunch of books. In 2024, I got promoted to community events, and Dylan joined Creox. This whole time he had been with Best Buy, but Some things aren't meant to last forever. So he joined Creoaks and he came to the community events with me, helped me out. Last year, 2024, I hosted our version of the Angel Tree, and I had a whole carnival with Walmart. This was the carnival, and the fire department came out, and we had games and prizes, and obviously got like toys donated. People sponsored kids, and it was amazing. I loved it. I also found roller derby. So Tiffany, one of the girls I met at Geek Squad, joined the league, and I watched one game and I was hooked. And I joined as a non-skating official. So I do paperwork and stuff like that while the games are going on. But I wanted to try to skate too. So this is me at my office in the hallway. Just this is my first time on quads, on skates ever. In 2025, I like gave an actual try to joining the league, and you can kind of tell by my face, I'm not having it. You have to, there's a level of vulnerability I'm not at yet, like comfortable at being yet with people. I'm trying to reconnect with the part of me that loved cheerleading and field hockey and like the sports like team bond while also trying not to break a bone. So anyway, it's a thing. Um, in 2025, I moved to the food pantry. Along with doing outreach events, I started doing our food pantry. And so that was two jobs. And this is one event that we did. We did free pet vaccines for the community, 100% free. We vaccinated, I think it was like 130 cats and like 172 dogs. We didn't, the Humane Society did, but Creoaks hosted it, and that's me and Dylan at the event, and it was a blast. It was fun. Now, 2025 has been a long year. I am now the clinical admin for the clinical directors. I help them mostly with like Excel spreadsheets and purchasing stuff and booking hotel rooms and little stuff like that. It's really not fulfilling, but it's gonna look great on my resume. This is me in the Tulsa office. This tote bag, I have a t-shirt that says the same thing. It says, "Please stay alive." Suicidality is something that's really like special to me and where my like head and my heart are. Obviously with my mom attempting suicide right before I moved to Oklahoma, and with my, history when I went to the hospital in 2012 or 2011. And when I had my LEAP, my DNC in 2019, like those were my low points. And I now see it really does get better. It really does. Like I like to say as a PRSS, I'm a professional, it gets better coach. I'm also a case manager, but I care way less about that. Dylan also got promoted to storeroom manager. So that's what we call our food pantries. Once I got promoted, he took over our food pantry. And now he's over all of the food pantries for the agency, which is really, really cool. He got promoted a couple months ago. So that was us doing some deliveries of food. We delivered 3,200 pounds of food that day. You can't tell, but the back of that pickup is loaded with food. And that brings us to the most recent major life event, our baby Belladonna. She came to our lives in 2013 and really suddenly in October, her health just declined really quickly. She had some sort of tumor. I don't know, but we did all we could to try to save her, and everything there is an end to everything, Every creature dies, and it's just part of life. It doesn't mean the end of hope, you know? I still have three other dogs, and I want another pit bull puppy so bad. I cherish the love she gave us. She was like our baby, for real. So, yeah, that's the biggest update from 2025 I have. And that I'm sure was over 10 minutes, but it is what it is. Thank you.